The rain hammered the penthouse windows like 1,000 accusations, each drop a reminder of the merger we'd just botched. Gabriel's voice cracked on the last word of his concession speech to the board, virtual faces flickering out one by one on the massive screen, before he slammed his laptop shut and buried his face in his hands. I froze in the doorway of his office, coffee tray trembling, as the man who'd built an empire from nothing finally shattered, his broad shoulders heaving with sobs that echoed louder than the storm outside. In that instant, the veil lifted. The unflappable CEO, the one who mentored me through my first shaky pitch, wasn't made of steel. He was human, frayed at the edges, carrying ghosts I'd never seen. And as his cries turned to ragged whispers of a name I didn't recognize, Tommy, why now? I realized the weight he'd hidden wasn't just the company's collapse, but a love lost years ago, one that had carved him hollow long before I ever walked into his life. I'd always admired Gabriel from afar, the way he commanded a room with that quiet intensity, his green eyes scanning spreadsheets like they held the secrets of the universe. But seeing him break, it pulled me under, a current I couldn't fight, making me drop the tray and cross the room before I could think twice. The steam from the spilled coffee curled up like smoke signals from a battlefield, mingling with the sharp scent of Gabriel's cologne, sandalwood and something earthier, like pine after rain. My heart jackhammered as I knelt beside him, the Persian rug soaking through my slacks. Gabriel, I said softly, my voice barely cutting through the thunder. He flinched at the sound, lifting his head just enough for me to see the red rims of his eyes, the stubble shadowing his jaw like he'd forgotten to shave for days. Which, come to think of it, he probably had. Daniel, he rasped, wiping his face with the back of his hand, smearing ink from the merger docs across his cheek. You weren't supposed to, shit, just go. Pretend you saw nothing. But his hand shot out, gripping my wrist like a lifeline, calluses rough against my skin. It was the first time we'd touched beyond a firm handshake or a congratulatory clap on the back, and it sent a jolt through me, electric and forbidden. I didn't pull away. Instead, I sank down fully, our knees brushing on the rug. The office felt smaller now, the floor-to-ceiling windows framing Manhattan's glittering chaos below. A city that never slept, much like the man unraveling before me. I'm not leaving you like this, I murmured, my thumb instinctively rubbing circles on the inside of his wrist, feeling his pulse thunder. We've been grinding through this deal for months. Whatever this is, you don't have to carry it solo. He laughed, a bitter, broken sound that twisted something deep in my chest. Solo? That's the job description, kid. CEO means you're the one who bleeds so no one else does. His gaze flicked to mine, raw and unguarded, and for a split second, I saw not the boss who'd promoted me last year, but a man adrift, 38 going on 60, lines etched around his mouth from smiles he rarely gave anymore. I swallowed hard, memories flashing. The late nights in the conference room, takeout containers piling up as he'd pace, dissecting my ideas with that surgical precision that made me better. The way he'd linger after everyone else left, asking about my life in that casual tone that felt like an invitation. Was it always there, this undercurrent? Or was I projecting, my own quiet ache for something real twisting the moment? Tell me about Tommy, I said, the name slipping out before I could stop it. His grip tightened, then released, like he'd been burned. He leaned back against his desk, the wood creaking under his weight, and stared at the ceiling as if answers were hidden in the exposed beams. Tommy was everything, he started, voice low, like confessing to the storm itself. We met in college, NYU, back when the world felt conquerable. He was the artist, wild hair, paint-splattered jeans, dragging me to gallery openings instead of econ lectures. I was the straight-A grind, the one with the 5-year plan. But he saw through it, called me out on the bullshit I told myself about who I was. I nodded, piecing it together, the air thick with unspoken truths. Gabriel had always been private about his past. No photos on his desk, no weekend stories shared over beers at the team happy hours. Rumors swirled in the break room. Ex-wife in California, trust fund kid turned shark. But this was a revelation. peeling back layers I'd only glimpsed in stolen glances during meetings. We built a life in the village, he continued, eyes distant. Tiny loft, his canvases everywhere. My law books stacked like barricades. He made me laugh, God. The way he'd mimic the professors, all dramatic flair. And in bed. He trailed off, a flush creeping up his neck, not from shame but memory. It was easy, you know? Like breathing. Until it wasn't. The rain eased to a patter, the city lights blurring into halos through the glass. I shifted closer, our shoulders touching now, a silent permission. What changed? Life, he said flatly. I got the offer from the firm, big money, corner office trajectory. Tommy wanted to travel, chase inspirations in Paris or Tokyo. I said yes to the job, no to the adventure. We fought, ugly words about settling, about me burying who I was under suits and spreadsheets. Then one night he packed a bag, said he couldn't watch me disappear into the man the world expected. My throat tightened. I'd felt echoes of that in my own life. Growing up in Ohio, the prodigy son who aced tests but hid crushes on the quarterback behind straight-A facades. Moving to New York 3 years ago was my escape. Landing this gig at Apex Ventures a stroke of luck. Gabriel had seen potential in my resume, but maybe something more. Did you ever go after him? He shook his head, jaw clenching. Pride's a hell of a drug. I threw myself into work, climbed the ladder until it felt like home. Last I heard, he was in San Francisco, married to some gallery owner. Happy, I guess. The lie hung there, brittle. His eyes met mine again, searching, and I saw the question he didn't voice. What now? I didn't have answers, but I had this moment, the vulnerability bridging the gap between intern and icon. You're not disappearing on me, I said firmly, echoing his words back at him. Not tonight. Not ever, if I can help it. It was bold, teetering on the edge of confession, but the words felt right, like they'd been waiting. He studied me, the storm in his gaze softening to something warmer, tentative. Then, slowly, he reached out, cupping my cheek with a hand that trembled just a fraction. His thumb brushed my lip, feather light, and the world narrowed to that touch, the spark of possibility in a night gone wrong. Daniel, he whispered, like a prayer or a plea. What are we doing? Starting over, I replied, leaning in until our foreheads touched. The merger could burn. The board could fire us both. In that penthouse, with the rain as witness, we were just two men finding footing on cracked ground. We stayed like that for what felt like hours, breath sinking, the silence a bomb. When he finally pulled back, the ghost of a smile tugged at his lips. The first real one-eyed scene in weeks. Coffee's cold, he noted, glancing at the mess. I'll make fresh, I offered, standing but not letting go of his hand. As I moved to the kitchenette, he followed, movements sluggish but steadier. We didn't talk about the breakdown. Not yet. But the air hummed with unspoken promises. Over steaming mugs. Black for him, 2 sugars for me. He sketched out salvage plans for the deal, his voice regaining that commanding edge. But every so often, our eyes would lock, a current pulling us back. By dawn, the storm had passed, gray light filtering in like hesitant hope. Gabriel walked me to the elevator, his hand lingering on my elbow. Thank you, he said simply, for seeing me. Always, I replied, the word carrying more weight than I intended. The doors slid shut, but as the car descended, I knew this was just the beginning, the crack in the facade that let light in, and maybe, just maybe, love. Little did I know, the shadows hiding behind that light were deeper than either of us imagined. The weeks blurred into a frenzy of damage control. Conference calls at ungodly hours, schmoozing investors over steak at Delmonico's, endless revisions to pitch decks that mocked our earlier hubris. Gabriel was a machine again, his breakdown tucked away like a classified file, but I caught the glimpses, the way his eyes would glaze during lulls, staring out at the Hudson like it held Tommy's reflection. And me? I was hooked, replaying that night in my head. The salt of his tears on my skin from when I'd wiped his face, the warmth of his palm against my cheek. We fell into a rhythm, unspoken but electric. Late nights became our ritual. The office emptying out, leaving us with takeout from the halal cart on 53rd and bottles of overpriced scotch from his minibar. Conversations veered from quarterly projections to dreams deferred. Mine of writing that novel gathering dust on my laptop. His of ditching the suit for a life less scripted. "You ever think about it?" he'd ask, swirling his glass, ice clinking like wind chimes. "Packing a bag? Chasing what scares you?" Every time I'd nod, heart racing. "With the right co-pilot, yeah." Our knees would brush under the table, accidental on purpose, and he'd hold my gaze a beat too long, that green intensity making my stomach flip. It was flirtation wrapped in professionalism, a tightrope we walked with the grace of tight-lipped Midwesterners. Me from Ohio, him from Jersey roots he'd shed like old skin. One Thursday, the air crackled with more than tension. We'd nailed a Hail Mary investor, some tech whale from Silicon Valley who bought our vision of disruptive sustainability. Celebrations were muted. Champagne in plastic flutes, confetti from a desk drawer. As the team filtered out, buzzing with relief, Gabriel caught my arm in the hallway. "My place," he said, low enough that only I heard. "To decompress. No shop talk." I followed him to the garage, the elevator ride to his Tribeca loft a study in restraint. His fingers twitching at his sides, mine stuffed in pockets to keep from reaching out. The space was a revelation. Minimalist cool with exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves groaning under tomes on everything from Keynes to Kerouac, and abstract paintings splashed across walls. Tommy's work, I realized with a pang, their bold strokes screaming unfinished stories. "Make yourself at home," he said, shedding his jacket, revealing the taut lines of his shoulders under a crisp white shirt. I wandered to the window, the city sprawl a glittering apology for its indifference. He joined me, 2 fingers of bourbon in hand for each of us. "To second chances," he toasted, clinking glasses. Our eyes locked over the rims, and when he set his down, his hand found mine. Deliberate this time, thumb tracing my knuckles. "Gabriel," I breathed, the name a question and an answer. He closed the distance, slow as if testing gravity, until his lips brushed mine, soft, tentative, tasting of bourbon and buried longing. It ignited something primal yet tender. His arms wrapping around me like he'd been starving for this anchor. We kissed like men who'd waited lifetimes, hands mapping familiar yet new territory. The curve of his neck, the dip of my waist, breaths mingling in sighs that spoke volumes. We didn't rush. It was a reclaiming, bodies pressing close on the leather couch, shirts untucked but boundaries held. His whispers against my ear. "I've wanted this since your interview," that fire in your eyes, unraveled me, threads of doubt fraying under his touch. When we broke apart, foreheads resting, he murmured, "Stay." I did, curling into him as the skyline watched. Sleep came in fits, dreams tangled with his steady breathing, the rise and fall of his chest a lullaby. Morning brought coffee and croissants from the bakery downstairs, sunlight slanting through blinds like golden bars. We talked, really talked, about the fears that had built walls. His guilt over Tommy, the coming out that had fractured his family back in Jersey, whispers of disappointment from a father who'd prized legacy over love. Mine were smaller, sharper, small-town glances, the ex who'd bolted when labels got too real. "You're braver than you know," he said, lacing our fingers over the breakfast bar. "Coming here, building this, felt like the start of us, fragile but fierce." At the office, we were discreet, stolen smiles over reports, his foot nudging mine under conference tables. But the spark grew, fueling bolder ideas. A weekend hike in the Catskills, where we'd hike trails slick with autumn leaves, sharing stories by a campfire, his head on my shoulder under star-pricked skies, yet cracks spiderwebbed beneath the surface. Whispers in the halls grew. A rival exec, Marcus Hale from the merger's team, eyeing Gabriel's throne with sharkish glee. "Sloppy on the eco deal," he'd sneer in meetings, his barbs laced with something personal, eyes flicking to me like I was the weakness. Gabriel brushed it off, but I saw the toll, the late emails, the way he'd rub his temples during calls. One night, After a brutal strategy session, he collapsed onto the couch in his office, head in hands. "They're circling," he admitted, voice hollow. "Hale's got dirt. Old emails from the merger fallout, twisted to make me look reckless." I knelt again, echoing that rainy night, my hand on his knee. "We'll fight it. Together." He looked up, gratitude mingling with something darker. "Resignation? You don't know what you're signing up for, Dan. This world. It devours the soft parts." But I was all in, blind to the storm brewing. Our first real date was magic. Dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Italian in Little Italy, candlelight dancing on Chianti bottles, his laugh genuine as he recounted a botched college prank. Walking back, hand in hand through crowds oblivious to us, he stopped under a street lamp, pulling me close. "I could get used to this," he said, kissing me slow and deep, the city fading to a hum. Bliss, though, is a prelude to fallout. The betrayal came swift, a dagger in the boardroom. Hale presented evidence. Screenshots of private texts. Mine to Gabriel, innocuous but damning in context. "Missed you last night. Can't wait for the cabin." Leaked, twisted to imply favoritism, ethical lapses. The room erupted, accusations flying like shrapnel. Gabriel's face drained of color, eyes finding mine across the table. Betrayal not in the words, but in the source. Someone close had sold us out. As the chairman called for recess, Gabriel stormed out, me trailing. In the stairwell, he whirled. "Who, Dan? Who the hell would?" His voice broke, fists clenched. I had no answer, only the ache of exposure. Our private world splashed public. That night, alone in my Brooklyn walk-up, I scrolled through Hale's LinkedIn, ambition etched in every post. But deeper, a photo. Hale and Tommy, arms slung casual at a gallery event, smiles sharp. Coincidence? Or the ghost from Gabriel's past, weaponized? The stairwell echo faded as Gabriel paced, his polished loafers scuffing the concrete like accusations. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows that mirrored the fracture lines in his trust. "It has to be internal," he muttered, raking hands through his hair, leaving it mussed in a way that made him look younger, more vulnerable. Someone with access to the server logs, the email chains. But why now? Why us? I leaned against the railing, the metal cool through my shirt, stomach churning with a mix of rage and dread. Our texts, those stolen intimacies, flashed in my mind. "Your laugh in that meeting? Killer. Dreamt of the lake house with you." Innocent threads woven into a noose by context. "Hale's been gunning for your spot since the eco deal," I said, voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "But this feels personal, like he knew exactly where to hit." Gabriel stopped, eyes narrowing as realization dawned, slow and poisonous. "Tommy." The name dropped like a stone in still water. He sank onto the steps, elbows on knees, head bowed. "That photo I saw last year, Hale at the opening, schmoozing. What if? God, what if Tommy fed him the intel? Leverage from our old fights, twisted into corporate sabotage." My blood ran cold. Tommy, the artist who'd painted Gabriel's heart in vibrant hues, then walked away with the canvas half-finished. The idea of him circling back, not for reconciliation but revenge, twisted the knife. "We don't know that," I protested, sliding down beside him, our thighs pressing in solidarity. "Could be a hack, a disgruntled analyst. Let's not." "But it fits," he cut in, voice raw. "Tommy always knew how to play the long game. After I chose the firm over us, he said I'd regret burying my soul for a paycheck. Hale's his proxy now, ambition meeting grudge." His laugh was hollow, echoing off the walls. "Poetic justice, right? The straight-laced exec brought low by the queer ex he couldn't commit to." The word queer hung there, reclaimed and ragged, a badge we'd both worn in silence. I gripped his shoulder, feeling the tension coiled like a spring. "Hey, you're not buried. Not with me here." He turned, green eyes stormy, and for a moment, the fight drained out, replaced by a desperate hunger. He kissed me fiercely, hands framing my face, pouring frustration into connection. a clash of lips and teeth that left us breathless against the wall. "We'll expose it," I gasped when we broke apart, foreheads touching. "Dig, fight dirty if we have to. You're not losing this. Not the company, not us." He nodded, resolve flickering back. "Us first. Dinner tonight. Neutral ground. No war talk." It was a lifeline, and I clung to it. We met at a quiet bistro in the West Village, tucked away from paparazzi and prying eyes. A spot with checkered cloths and Chianti in straw flasks, evoking old-world romance amid New York's grit. Candlelight softened the edges of his exhaustion, and as we split a plate of Cacio e Pepe, twirling pasta like conspirators, the world shrank to our booth. "Remember our first hike?" he asked, foot hooking mine under the table. "You tripped on that root, cursed like a sailor." I laughed so hard I nearly rolled down the hill. I grinned, warmth blooming despite the chill outside. "You carried my pack the rest of the way. Chivalrous bastard." Stories flowed, light ones, buffers against the storm. My Ohio prom date fiasco, his Jersey boardwalk summers dodging jellyfish with Tommy. But when his gaze turned serious, fork pausing, I braced. "I need to know if I'm worth this," he said quietly. "The scrutiny, the fallout. You've got options, brighter futures without my baggage." My hand covered his across the table, thumb stroking his knuckles. "Baggage? That's just scars, Gabe. And mine match hidden crushes, family silences. We're in this because it feels right, not despite the mess." He squeezed back, eyes shining, and the kiss that followed, soft, sealing, was witnessed only by the waiter, who winked discreetly. But paradise is fleeting. The next morning, my inbox exploded. Anonymous tip to HR, screenshots escalated, whispers of an internal investigation. Gabriel called a war council in his office, blinds drawn, coffee going cold. "Hale's endgame is my chair," he growled, pacing. "But if Tommy's involved, I need answers." I volunteered to dig, discreet queries to old contacts, scouring LinkedIn for connections. What I found chilled me. Hale and Tommy, not casual acquaintances but collaborators. Gallery donor lists, shared panels on art in business. And deeper, a buried article from 5 years back, Tommy's exhibit on lost loves. One piece titled The Ladder Climber, a ladder of dollar bills leading to an empty frame. Gabriel's shadow in the dedication. Confronting him that evening in the loft, rain lashing windows again like déjà vu, I laid it out. He stared at the printouts, face ashen. "He warned me," he whispered, crumpling the page. "In our last fight. I'll make sure the world sees the hollow man you became." I thought it was bluff. Betrayal's sting was twofold. For Gabriel, the love turned venom. For me, the intrusion into our fragile new. "What now?" I asked, pulling him into an embrace, his body rigid then yielding. "I face it," he said, muffled against my shoulder. "Call him. End this ghost story." But as he dialed, speaker on, the line rang empty. Voicemail. A voice like velvet over gravel. "Gabe, if you're hearing this, it's too late. Some debts demand payment." The click echoed like a gavel. Gabriel's knees buckled. I caught him, guiding us to the floor. Tears came hot and unfiltered, soaking my shirt. "I destroyed us," he sobbed. "Chose wrong. And now it's poisoning you too." "No," I fierce whispered, cradling his head. "You chose survival. And I'm choosing you. Flaws, ghosts, all." We rocked there, a island in turmoil, until exhaustion claimed him, curled against me like a shield. Days bled into strategy. Lawyers on retainer, PR spins on team synergy. Hale smirked in meetings, but Gabriel's fire reignited. Pitches sharper, alliances forged. Our nights anchored us. Slow dances in the loft to Coltrane records, his hands on my hips tracing promises. "You're my north," he'd murmur, lips to my temple. Intimacy deepened, not carnal fire, but soul-bearing. Shared journals, vulnerabilities voiced in the dark. Yet the noose tightened. A board vote loomed. Hale's motion to oust Gabriel couched in leadership concerns. Whispers turned to shouts. Colleagues side-eyeing me, emails CC'd with caution. Isolation crept in, but so did resolve. We leak first, I proposed over midnight pizza. Hale's ties to Tommy, conflict of interest. Turn the blade. Gabriel's eyes gleamed, strategist reborn. Risky, but together. He kissed my palm. Unstoppable. The plan coalesced. Anonymous drop to the Times, timed pre-vote. As we prepped docs in the conference room, city lights winking conspiratorially, a knock shattered the hush. Security escort, board summons, immediate. Heart pounding, we entered the lion's den. Director stone-faced, Hale at the head, Tommy in the flesh beside him, suit ill-fitting on his artist's frame, eyes hollowed by years. You, Gabriel breathed, chair scraping. Tommy's gaze flicked. Regret? Triumph? Needed closure, he said flatly. Hale offered a way. The room spun, betrayal incarnate, and the climax crashed. Accusations? Revelations? Gabriel's voice cracking as he laid bare the sabotage, the personal vendetta. This isn't business, he thundered. It's revenge. For loving me once, hating me now. Tommy faltered, facade cracking. You left first, Gabe. Chose the tower over us. But as evidence mounted, Hale's emails, donor kickbacks, the board shifted, murmurs rising. Hale lunged verbally. Irrelevant. This in turn, pointing at me. Proof of your distraction. Chaos erupted, but Gabriel stood tall, hand finding mine under the table. A silent vow. In the end, votes swung. Hale ousted, Tommy slinking out with a whispered sorry that tasted of ash. Gabriel retained his throne, but victory was Pyrrhic. Scars reopened, trust fractured anew. The boardroom emptied like a receding tide, leaving driftwood of discarded agendas and the metallic tang of tension in the air. Gabriel slumped in his chair, tie loosened, the weight of vindication pressing heavier than defeat ever had. Tommy's parting glance lingered in my mind. Those eyes, once Gabriel's harbor, now stormy with unspoken what-ifs. I squeezed his hand under the table, the one anchor in the wreckage. It's over, I said, though we both knew endings were illusions. He turned to me, exhaustion carving deeper lines, but a spark of gratitude flickered. Not quite. Coffee black, strong. Then we talk. We retreated to his office, the door clicking shut like a vow of sanctuary. As the machine gurgled to life, he paced to the window, Manhattan's pulse mocking our stasis below. Tommy looked, broken. He admitted, voice threaded with pity. Like the years ground him down too. I handed him the mug, our fingers brushing in that now familiar ritual. Doesn't excuse it. Using your pain as ammo. The words tasted bitter, but true. Love's shadow could twist ugly when resentment festered. We sank onto the couch, sides pressed, the leather creaking under shared burdens. What do you need? I asked, simple as breath. You, he replied, setting the mug aside to pull me close. His kiss was salt-edged, tasting of relief and residue grief, hands roaming my back like mapping a safe return. We melted into it, a balm against the barbs, lazy explorations, shirts rumpled, breaths sinking in the quiet. No rush, just presence. His fingers in my hair, my lips at his collarbone, whispering affirmations into skin. You're enough, I murmured. Always were. He pulled back, eyes searching mine. Even after this circus? The leak, the spectacle, it's out there now. CEO's secret affair fodder for the tabs. Vulnerability cracked his voice, the titan reduced to man. Especially after, I countered, cupping his jaw. It showed your fight, not just for the job but for us. That's the man I faltered, the L word hovering like a held breath. Too soon? Or right on time? Gabriel's smile was small, real. Say it. When I did, love. It unlocked him, a dam breaking in reverse. Laughter bubbling up, tears pricking, his forehead to mine. Love you too, Dan. Reckless, brilliant you. We lingered there, cocooned until duty called, press statements, HR briefings. The office hummed with cautious normalcy, colleagues offering nods that skirted judgment. Hale's desk stood empty, a ghost vacancy, but whispers lingered. How deep does it go? I ignored them, focusing on Gabriel's subtle cues. A wink across the floor, a post-it on my monitor. Lunch? Your call. Our rhythm rebuilt, brick by tender brick. Weekends became sacred. Drives upstate to that cabin he'd mentioned. Leaf-peppered roads winding to a lakeside A-frame rented anonymously. There, away from skyscrapers, we shed suits for flannels. Chopping wood me clumsily, him with practiced swings. And cooking chili over an open fire, stars wheeling overhead like blessings. Nights wrapped in quilts, his stories unfolding. Tommy's wild sketches, their first pride march hand in hand. Rainbows clashing with Jersey skepticism. He taught me to live loud. Gabriel reflected one evening, fire crackling. You teach me quiet strength. I traced the scars on his knuckles, bar fights from coming out backlash, and share my own. The letter to mom I'd never sent, words of I'm gay, and okay folded in a drawer. Someday, he'd encourage, kissing each faded mark. We'll write it together. But peace is a garden needing weeding. Tommy resurfaced, not in sabotage but contrition. A letter arrived at the loft, handwritten on heavy stock. Gabe, I was wrong. Hale preyed on old wounds. I let him because it hurt less than facing my regrets. The art world choose dreamers, you built something real. Forgive, not for absolution but because you deserve it. T. Gabriel read it aloud by lamplight, voice steady but eyes wet. I sat beside him, hand on his thigh, silent witness. Part of me hates him still, he confessed, folding the page. For the betrayal, the years stolen. But the rest, sees the boy I loved, lost like me. Forgiveness isn't erasure, I said gently. It's space, for you, for us. He nodded, tucking the letter away, and that night, our lovemaking was a release. Slow dances of limbs and whispers, bodies affirming what words couldn't. Afterward, tangled sheets he traced my spine. You're my redo, he murmured. The love that stays. Work steadied, promotions whispered, mine to junior exec, his legacy solidified. We navigated the public eye with humor. Dodging reporters at galas, his arm casual around my waist in photos that screamed unapologetic. Pride that June was cathartic. Marching from Chelsea to the Stonewall, rainbows on our jackets. His hand firm in mine amid the roar. This, he yelled over chance, is what Tommy dreamed for us. I squeezed back, chest swelling, belonging, bone deep. Yet conflict simmered elsewhere. Family. Gabriel's call to his sister in Jersey, voice halting as he outed us both. Dan's important. We're together. Met with stunned silence, then tears. Dad's gone, Gabe. Cancer last year. He regretted the hard lines. The news gutted him. We flew home for the funeral, a somber affair in a rain-slicked cemetery, relatives murmuring condolences laced with side eyes. But his sister hugged me fierce. He smiles again. That's you. Healing rippled outward. I penned that letter to Mom, Gabriel's pen steadying my hand, mailing it from a Philly post office on route back. Her reply came weeks later. Shaky script, proud of the man you've become. Visit, love always. Tears stained the page. We celebrated with rooftop wine, toasts to bridges rebuilt. Climax brewed in autumn, leaves turning fire red as apex eyed a bold acquisition. A green tech startup in Austin, high risk, heart aligned. Doubts plagued. Board scars fresh, Hale's echoes in naysayers. Gabriel wavered in strategy sessions, old insecurities whispering failure. What if I drag us down? He confided one night, staring at deal memos by firelight in the cabin. I knelt before him, hands on his knees. Then we climbed together. This isn't just business. It's your vision, our future. His eyes, vulnerable, met mine. The kiss that followed sealed resolve. The pitch was epic. Austin's sun baking the boardroom, Gabriel's voice thunder. Data woven with passion, my slides amplifying the human stake. Objections flew, but we parried. a duet honed in lofts and lakesides. When the gavel fell, approved, cheers erupted, his hand finding mine under the table, squeeze saying we did this. Back in New York, euphoria peaked. A gala at the Met, tuxes sharp, champagne flowing. Amid swirl of donors, Tommy appeared. Uninvited, but earnest, glass in hand. Heard about the win, he said to Gabriel, voice low. Fitting. You always turned lead to gold. Awkward beat. Then Gabriel extended a hand. Not for shake, but clasp. Water under bridges, Tom. Glad you're painting again. No more. Tommy nodded, eyes to me with quiet respect, fading into the crowd. Later, on the balcony overlooking Central Park, Gabriel pulled me close, city lights a carpet below. Full circle, he whispered, lips to my ear. From breakdown to this. You saw me, really saw and stayed. I turned in his arms, hearts hammering tandem. Wouldn't trade the weight for anything. Our kiss under stars was promise. Deep, enduring, the kind that weathers storms. Winter clamped down on the city like a stern editor, sharpening edges and muting colors. Snow dusting fire escapes, breath fogging glass. Our life settled into a cadence both thrilling and grounded. Mornings tangled in his king-sized bed, the loft's high ceilings echoing lazy goodbyes before commutes. Evenings dissecting novels over pad thai, his annotations and margins mirroring my underlines. Gabriel's vulnerability had bloomed into quiet confidence, the breakdown a pivot point rather than a precipice. Yet, as ever, shadows lengthened with the days. The first omen was subtle. A cough that lingered past the holidays, dismissed as post-flu crud, amid twinkling trees and mulled wine at his sister's. We rang in the new year on a Hudson ferry, fireworks blooming over the water, his arms around me from behind, chin on my shoulder. To us, he toasted with hot toddy, steam curling like wishes. I leaned back, content in the circle of him, oblivious to the rasp in his laugh. January brought the acquisition's honeymoon, site visits to Austin's sun-baked labs, where engineers demoed solar prototypes with boyish zeal. Gabriel thrived there, sleeves rolled, diving into specs like a kid in a sandbox. This is it, he'd say, eyes alight, gesturing at panels humming efficiency. Clean energy that doesn't bankrupt dreams. I'd nod, pride swelling, capturing moments on my phone. Him mid-explain, hair windswept, the Texas sky vast and forgiving. But on the flight back, turbulence hit literal and not. He shifted uncomfortably, hand pressing his side. Just indigestion. He waved off my concern, popping an antacid. I let it slide, too buoyed by the trip's success, but unease seated. Back home, the cough persisted, evolving into fatigue that dimmed his stride. Board meetings saw him fade mid-sentence, green eyes glazing before snapping back with a forced smile. Jet lag, he'd quip, but I saw the toll. The way he'd lean on door frames, breath shallow. One February night, post-dinner at Gramercy Tavern, he faltered on the sidewalk, hand to his chest. Dan! Panic surged. I hailed a cab to Mount Sinai. The ER a blur of fluorescent hell and beeping monitors. Doctors poked and prodded, scans whirring like judgmental eyes. The verdict landed soft but seismic. Stage 2 lymphoma, caught early-ish, treatable with chemo and radiation. Prognosis good, the oncologist assured, clipboard impersonal. Aggressive, but you're young, strong. Gabriel's face was a mask, stoic, CO sharp, but his hand crushed mine, knuckles white. In the cab home, silence reigned until he cracked. Fucking unfair. Just when? Voice trailed, head against the window, city streaks blurring tears. At the cabin, I said, resolute. We'll plan there. No rush. He nodded, squeezing back, but the drive upstate was heavy, snow blanketing pines like shrouds. Curled by the fireplace that night, chemo pamphlets splayed like battle maps, he traced my palm. Promise you'll stick, even if I turn into a bald, puking mess? I kissed his knuckles, fierce. Especially then. Partners, remember? Laughter bubbled, watery, and we mapped the fight. Treatments slotted around deals, my role as logistics czar, appointments, meals, morale. Spring unfurled tentative, cherry blossoms defiant against gray skies. Chemo started brutal. Mornings of nausea that left him curled fetal. Me stroking his back with cool cloths. Brewing ginger tea in the loft's kitchen. Work adapted virtual boards. His voice steady via Zoom, masking the 4 bruises on his arms. Colleagues rallied. Care packages of puzzles and podcasts. His sister flying in with Jersey tough love. "You're kicking this," she'd declare, force-feeding him matzo ball soup. Our love deepened in the forge. Quiet rituals like reading poetry aloud. Whitman for wildness, Neruda for ache. His head in my lap, fingers combing thinning hair. Intimacy shifted tender. Shared baths scented eucalyptus. Soaks easing aches. Whispers of futures post-remission. Road trip to Big Sur. He'd muse, eyes distant. Cliff drives, your hand in mine. Betrayal's echo resurfaced in unlikely form. Not malice, but doubt. A late-night call from Tommy. Number unblocked in forgiveness's wake. Heard. If you need anything. Gabriel stiffened, handing me the phone. I fielded it curt. "We're good. Focus on your canvas." But later, alone, he confessed the sting. What if he pities me now? The broken exec. I pulled him close, noses brushing. Pities for strangers. Your warrior, my warrior. The kiss that followed was reclamation. Bodies aligning in affirmation. Slow and soulful. Climax crested in May. A relapse scare. Fever spiking. ER dash at 3 a.m. Rain sluicing ambulance lights. Scans loomed, days a limbo of what-ifs. In the hospital hush, machines beeping metronome, he gripped my hand. If it spreads, don't let them see pity in my eulogy. Tell them I loved fierce. Loved you. Tears burned. I choked. No goodbyes. We're beating this. Results came dawn. Contained. Tweak the protocol. Relief crashed like waves. Sobs racking us both. Joy's messy cousin. Discharged, we detoured to the cabin. Emergent spring greening woods. There, by the lake, he proposed. Not ring, but vow. Marry me, Dan. Not for show, but us against whatever. Kneeling in mud, I laughed through tears. Yes, God, yes. No fanfare, just lake-lapped promises. His lips sealing it under budding maples. Summer hummed recovery, treatments tapering, hair a velvet shadow regrowing. The acquisition bloomed, first solar farm online. Ribbon cut with Gabriel's shears steady. My arm looped his. Media spun heroic, CEO's comeback. But we savored private wins. First hike post-chemo. Breaths sinking on trails. Wildflowers nodding approval. Tommy sent a painting. Abstract swirls of blue and gold. Resilience inscribed. Gabriel hung it in the loft. A truce embodied. My mom's visit sealed circles. Jersey diner brunch, her hugging him maternal. Strong stock, she winked, earning his blush. Yet humanism's core is imperfection. A minor infection sidelined him autumn. Frustration boiling. I'm a burden. I shut it down. Fierce. Your life. My life. We argued, raw, necessary, ending in embraces, growth's grit. By Thanksgiving, scans clean, he stood taller, green eyes clear. Family gathered, his sister, my mom, a motley queer quilt. Turkey carved amid toasts to survival. That night, loft aglow candles, we danced to Sinatra, his whisper hot. To the weight we carry, together now. The year turned on a dime, December's chill nipping at heels as we bundled against it. Scarves twinned, his cologne lingering on my collar. Remission held like a firm handshake, but Gabriel wore it lightly, as if tempting fate with overconfidence. One scan at a time, I'd remind, kissing his temple over breakfast omelets. The loft's windows fogged with our warmth. Work roared back. Apex's stock climbing on green initiatives. His keynote at Davos a triumph virtual firebrand. Me scripting zingers from the green room. Our engagement whispered forward. No Vegas excess but intimate. Rings etched with lake coordinates. Exchanged on a Central Park bench dusted snow. Pigeons scattering like confetti. Partners eternal, he vowed. sliding gold over my knuckle, eyes misting. Mine echoed, simple band heavy with meaning, Ohio boy to New York forever. Life layered joys. Adopting Milo, a scruffy rescue mutt from the Hudson shelter, his tail thumps a daily metronome. Walks became therapy. Leash in one hand, Gabriel's in the other, Milo tugging us toward frolic. Family, Gabriel'd say, ruffling fur, the word once foreign now fluent, but the past, that sly fox, circled once more. Tommy's exhibit opening, Brooklyn warehouse, invite extended olive branch style. Gabriel debated, fingers drumming mugs. Closure's a process, I encouraged. Go if it heals. He did, solo. Returned late, buzzed on wine and resolution. Talked real, he shared, shedding coat. His partner's a poet. They're fostering. Said he envied our fight. Through cancer, leaks all. I pulled him down, straddling laps, kisses tasting of Merlot and mending. Proud of you? I murmured, hands in his hair. Full now, curls defiant. Lovemaking followed, unhurried symphony. Sheets whispering secrets, bodies schooled in each other's maps, climaxes cresting soft as waves. Afterward, Milo snoring at footboard, Gabriel traced my ring. No ghosts left, just us. Spring's renewal mirrored ours. Wedding plans sketched casual. A justice of the peace in the village, rooftop reception with skyline toasts. Invites went wide, colleagues, kin, even Tommy with a +1. My novel stirred, chapters emailed for his red pen. His feedback gentle, igniting revisions. Voice like yours, he'd say. Cuts true. Conflict's final echo came quiet. A routine scan spotting shadows. Benign cysts, but Panic's old friend visited. Waiting room vigil, his hand clammy in mine. We traded fears. What if remission's a tease? Then we rewrite the story. Clear bill came, but it humbled, therapy sessions joint. Unpacking survivor's guilt, love's ledger. Summer solstice marked our ceremony. June's sun gilding brownstones, vows exchanged in a garden nook. His I choose you, every dawn, mine in storms and stills my anchor. Rings renewed, kisses sealed amid cheers. Reception atop his building, string lights twinkling. Milo in a bow tie begging treats. Tommy cornered us later, champagne flute raised. To loves that endure, Gabriel clasped his shoulder. Brothers in battle scars, before pulling me to dance. Slow sway to Ella, city humming approbation. Fall deepened bonds. Cabin weekends with extended kin. Leaves carpeting docks as we fished, stories swapping like bait. Gabriel's health stabilized, a new normal of check-ins and vitality. Jogs reclaiming pavement, his laughter booming freer. Work evolved, mentorship program for queer youth in business, my brainchild his champion, first cohort beaming at orientations. Winter looped back, holidays a tapestry. Mom's pie in Jersey, sister's lax, our tree trimmed with lakehouse ornaments. Eve's Eve, snow falling fat flakes, we walked the high line. Tracks reclaimed green, lovers linking arms. From that rainy night, he mused, breath clouding. To this, broke down, built up. I stopped him under a pergola, lights haloed. You carried alone too long. Now, shared load, double joy. Kiss in snowfall, pure as firsts, sealed the arc. From hook's shatter to humanism's hold. Years spun forward, threads weaving. My novel published to quiet acclaim, his TED Talk on vulnerability going viral, the weight we hide, the strength we share. Milo grayed at muzzle, but pups joined. Rescues of our own, chaos quadrupled. Health scares dotted, each surmounted. Resilience our creed. In quiet moments, dawn coffees, porch swings at a new upstate home, we reflected. Betrayal's forge, illness's fire, love's steady flame. Gabriel, once solitary titan, now leaned easy, green eyes soft. You saw me, he'd say, hand over heart. And I'd see you again, I'd reply. In every lifetime. The end? Not tragedy's curtain, but life's open score. Human. Flawed. Achingly beautiful. In America's vast heart, two men found home. Not in towers or titles, but each other. The weight, once crushing, now cradled together unbowed.